Good day, everyone. You're welcome to my channel, and this is Uglo Fashion. So today we'll be learning how to make this straight bustier blouse, and I assure you are going to enjoy the tutorial. So if you are new here, please subscribe to my channel, and please on your notification bell for more videos. Thank you very much. If you have any question concerning this, you can write it in the comment section. Thank you.
For this tutorial, I'll be making use of my waddy, my paper stay, my lining, then this Ankara fabric for the top. So now the measurement I will use for the blouse or top is the shoulder to nipple point is 11.5, shoulder to under bust is 15, shoulder to half length is 17, then circumference of the bust is 42.5, circumference of the under bust is 37, circumference of the half length is 40, nipple to nipple is 8, then the blouse length is 25. So those are the things, and the shoulder as well is 18, the sleeve is 15 and 14. So those are the things I need for this blouse. For the bustier blouse, the first thing I'll measure is the blouse length, and the blouse length of my client is 25, but we had 1 inch to it, so making 26. So I'll chop the 25. Then the nipple point of my client is 11.5, while the other bust is 15 inches, and the half length is 17. So I will rule them out. So after chalking out the lines, I'll measure the circumference of the bodies. The bust is 42.5. So 42.5 divided by 4, we give 10.6. Then the under bust is 37. So 37 divided by 4, we give 9.25. Then the half length is 40 inches. 40 divided by 4 give 10 inches. So for the blouse length, sorry I didn't call that, I'm going to make use of the hip measurement. The hip measurement is 48, so 48 divided by 4 will give 12 inches. I'm sorry I didn't measure that earlier. So now I'll connect the lines. Then I'm going to add seam allowance of 2 inches. So after that, I'll come to the shoulder. The shoulder circumference is 18 divided by 4, divided by 2 rather, is 9 inches. So I've measured the 9. Then I'll measure 7 inches for my armhole. Then everything I have here, I'll transfer it up. Then I'll add 1 inch to it, slant it to my nipple point. So from that point, now I have my normal body's measurement, and it's a bustier blouse. So for the bustier part of it, I'll measure the nipple to nipple, which I've already done here. I measured 4 inches. The nipple to nipple circumference is 8 inches. So divided by 2 will give me 4 inches. So from the nipple point, I measure the 4 inches down to the blouse length. You can see the lines. So after that, from the shoulder, I've already measured 7 inches for the shoulder, for the armhole, but from there I'll measure 4.5 inches. From that 7.47 inches, I'll measure 4.5 inches. So I've already chalked that out. The next thing I will do now is to start my bustier. So for the bustier, I'll measure extra 2 inches. Then the 2 inches is going to take effect from the blouse length and end at the under bust. Now, the 2 inches is going to be shared between the middle part of the bustier and the side of the bustier. So to start with, this side, the middle part is going to take half of the 2 inches and it's going to be connected to the under bust. So I'll just slant it to the under bust. That's the half from the, you see I measured the half on the nipple point. So now I slant it to the under bust. Then from there I'm going to connect this half to this 4.5 I measured earlier. So that's that for the middle part. Then for the bustier side, for the side of the bustier, the remaining, you know, I divided two from for the two sides. So the remaining 1.5 is going, this is the one that is going to take the remaining 1.5. So, and this is going to have a curve shape like bust. And the effect is starting from the under bust as well. So this, I'm going to connect it to this. But it must be longer than this, because if you are sewing, if you are joining the two together, there's no way this one will not run back. It will come down. So in order to avoid that, then I'll just ensure that it comes up more than the way it is now. So now they are on the same lane. I think you understand what I'm trying to do here. So then I'll still give it that armhole shape back. You know, this is normal armhole shape. This is how the normal armhole ought to be. Then I've given this side the 4.5, so the remaining is going to be connected to this side. Then give it that slope shape. Then because it's a straight blouse, and if the person is wearing it, we don't want the tummy to be shooting out, or I don't want any funny shape there. So I'm going to still slant this from the half length to the blouse length. See, I'm starting from the half length. That's to avoid any puffy shape down. So this will make the tummy to relax well. Don't worry, you will understand better when I cut it out. So now I've used 2 inches here. I have to add the 2 inches back to my measurement in order not to short my measurement. Aside from the normal 2 inches allowance, I will add back these 2 inches that I divided between the middle of the bust and the side. So now I'm adding back the 2 inches. So because it's a blouse, I want it to have a curve shape here, because that to give it a nice shape. So if it is sharp, it won't have that nice shape. But when it's curved here, a bit. So you can see I started from the blouse length, the actual blouse length, not from the allowance. Then I slant it to the 1 inch allowance I gave. I'll cut everything out. So the part I'm cutting out is this side here. So let me cut everything out first. Now, after cutting the two sides, I will notch the under bust. I will notch the under bust of the middle, then the side. So, because both of them must align while sewing. So, for the neckline of the blouse, for the neckline, it's not going to come down too much, so it's 3 point. I'm going to make it, the width is 3.5, then the length is 3 inches. Then from there, here I'll come down by 1 inch. Then I'm going to slant this. That's for the shoulder. So that is it for the front of the bustier blouse. Now let's move to the back side. Now for the back, I'll first measure the blouse length of my client. That's 25 inches. Then plus 1 inch the seam allowance. That's 26 inches. Then I'll come up here and measure the half length. That's 17 inches. So I'll rule everything out. After ruling the lines out, I'll measure the zipper allowance. I'm using 2 inches for the zipper allowance. So I'll rule that out as well. Now I'll measure the shoulder. The shoulder is 18 inches divided by 2 give me 9 inches. So from that 9 inches, I'll come down with 7 inches. Then from these 7 inches, I'll chalk out 4.5, just the way I did for the front. Then after that, I'll come back to the half length. I'll measure the nipple to nipple. That's 4 inches, but I'll add half to it, making 4.5. That's because our back is not straight, so I'm still going to curve. There's still going to be a curve shape here. You know, this part of our bodies, it enters. There's deep. We have deep part there. So I'll measure the 4.5. Then measure 4.5 here as well. I'll connect it. Then like I did for the front, I'll measure 2 inches for the side here. But instead of it ending at the the first the one I did for the front ended at the under bust, but this is going to just take effect from here alone. I'm just going to measure the 2 inches here alone. So this 4.5, I'm going to connect it to this 4.5 here as well. Sorry, they may not be the same. It's because the nipple to nipple of my client is 4. I added for it to it. At times it may be like this part may be like 3 inches, 3.5, and here will be 4.5. So they are not the same. Just because that's the measurement I have. That's the way. That's why it is 4.5, 4.5. So you can see the shape. Then from there, I'm going to slant it to this 2 inches. This will allow it just the way I did for the front. I don't want it to have this puff shape down or the stomach coming out. So that's why I added the 2 inches. So the same thing I'm doing to this as well. So from there, I'll just, now I said the 2 inches, so I'm ending it here at the half length. So now I'm going to connect it to this line as well. So that it won't run back the way I did for the front. So from there, I'll measure I did not measure the circumference of all the other parts when I started. So now I'm going to measure the hip The hip is 48. I'll measure the 48. So I'm not going to add allowance to this. So now the half length is 37. I measure the 37. Then the circumference of the bust, I'll just maintain this measurement till it gets this side. So it gets back to the armhole. So now here I'll give it the curve shape like I did for the front. Then I'll go. So these are the part I'm cutting out on this as well. So I'll trim it out. Now, after cutting the two, the next thing is to cut my neckline. And for the neckline, I use 3.5 for the width for front. So I'm going to use 3.5 for the back as well. Then I'll come down with 1.5 inch. Then for the shoulder, I'll measure 1 inch here for the slope. Then from the neckline, I'll connect it to the 1 inch. So I'm going to cut everything out. And before cutting it, I've already done I said there is a part of our body at the back that is deep. So now I've come in with that 1 inch, then slant it to the length of the blouse. Then I connected it to this part there on the zipper allowance that is coming from the neckline. Now after the cutting, I will notch the half length of this. Then this as well, I will notch the half length. Because while stitching them together, they must align. Both must align. Then after joining these two together, I'll go and join it on my machine. After doing that, I will remeasure it so as not to have much excess. I just need 2 inches allowance, and I used all the measurements here, so I will still have excess. So I will just remove few inches from this after joining the two together. So now I've transferred all my cut, the lining that I cut, I transferred it back to the fabric. So, and I added my paper stitch, both the lining and the Ankara fabric. Now for the back bodies, I want to join the two together, and I've stitched the half length as well. Now I pin the two down, I pin them together, so I will start my stitching. Now I'll stitch the two together. I want to turn it with my lining. This is the right side, and this is the right side of my lining too. So I'll place the two on each other. Then I'll first sew the down part. Now after doing the lining and the fabric together, I will top stitch on the lining. Now after stop stitching it on the lining, you can see it's relaxing well even before ironing. I've not ironed it and it's relaxing very well. So I will do likewise for the neckline as well. Now I've sewn the neckline, I top stitch it as well. The next thing now is to sew. This is the zipper allowance. I will sew here, then sew the side of the blouse. For the front bodies, this is the middle part and this is the side, the two sides. But I'm going to stitch my ribbons on these lines. This is the bias tape I'm talking about, the ribbon that I'm going to stitch on each line. I left 1 inch allowance in between. So I'm just using this to embellish my Ankara fabric. Then on it, I'm going to gum my rhinestone
my rhinestones on the bias tape. So let me start by, so the, I've not put any lines there because I'm not going to sew any bias tape on this part. So let me start by stitching this side first. Now I've gone ahead to add my rhinestone and my bias tape on it. I did that for this side as well, but there's still going to be another design here. That's why I stopped the rhinestone here. So now, to join the straight blouse, I will ensure the notch part, which is the underbust align. So I can do that by using my pin to secure the two together. Then I will start my stitches. So now after joining the middle and the sides together, this is what I arrived at. Now this is the lining. I want to stitch, I'll first stitch the neckline, then the down part. Then I will now come back to the side. So I measured, after joining the lining for the front bodies, so I measured 10 inches, then I added seam inch of 1 inch, seam allowance of 1 inch rather. Then the width of this is 19 inches. I've sewn 2 inches inside. So I now joined, I used my lining to turn it. I added paper slip to it and I used my lining to join it. So I now placed it on this style. The front bodies, I placed it, I made it slant, you can see the shape, but it ended where the blouse length ends. So that's why I did this. Then for this, I ensured that it ended after the bustier, the other side of the bustier. That's where it ended. Then I've already joined both front and back together. I've sewn out my measurement. Now the remaining part is the sleeve.